gentlemen and assorted other genders. Welcome back to the round table. This is the section where we take your questions. We're going to start off with questions from lifetime members. The first one, I'll aim it at you first of all, Dad. And then I've got questions that I've gone through that are more kind of aimed for both of you in terms of your, skill set. So there's lots of questions on analogies and stuff like that, mate. You'll be well into
I'll
it.
try and get a football one in for you.
Okay, so this is from Roland Nordermere, if I'm pronouncing that right. Hopefully I am. I apologise if I haven't. But in my defence, everyone gets my name wrong all the time. Icke.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Personal favourite was Icke. Gareth Icke. And that was
it's better than
That was
which?
in Israel, of all places as well.
Oh, was it?
In Bolton. Yeah, right.
It's better than which, though. That's
true.
me.
With all AI and hologram techniques, when do you think they'll come up with the... Do you want to read that word for me?
Hegelian.
Hegelian tactics for Messiah or alien invaders coming to Earth?
Well, I think it's definitely part of the package, which involves what? I mean, it involves bringing people together under against a particular enemy or behind a particular belief. And of course, the alien invasion would be, or we've all got to come together to meet the threat to the Earth, and everything gets centralized and to meet the threat. So that's of great benefit for what they want, which is a world government of non-elected people, a technocracy. And in terms of the religion, yeah, I mean, the idea of the whole Project Bluebeam, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was uncovered in the 1990s by Serge Mondas, wasn't it? A Canadian journalist, was that they would use holographic projections to give the illusion maybe of an alien invasion. And they would also use the projections to, I mean, I think he described how in different parts of the Earth, they would project the savior figure of that particular region. So in the West, it would be Jesus. And then the idea is to fuse them all into one religion. And the religion, I think, or the god of the religion I think they want is artificial intelligence. They want artificial intelligence to be the god. And so these things that have been around for a very long time now, back into the 1990s, as projects that are there to be played, I think at some point they may well be played, and what they want in both cases will certainly be played in some form. And I do find it interesting that I started looking at the whole UFO thing back in the 1990s when I was traveling around America talking to nobody, but I met a lot of people who were telling me, insiders, who were telling me that the flying saucer technology, anti-gravity technology, was well known about in the secret projects and the underground bases, and that many of these so-called UFOs that are seen were actually flown by humans out of places like the underground, famous underground bases of America, and so I think that the theme that we've had, I remember in those days in the 1990s, it was like, oh no, mate, weather balloons, aliens, rubbish, nonsense. And now we're having people, so-called insiders anyway, they may be, or certainly what they're saying fits the bill, that there are these unexplained sightings among the military, caught on radar of these craft doing things that no human craft could possibly do, or human crafts that we know about could possibly do. And so suddenly this stuff's being put out, and what they tend to do is to put it out in stages. They don't just have great revelation. They put it out in stages. They get people used to it. And so I don't think it's an accident that more insider whistleblowers from the military are appearing before Congress on Capitol Hill to talk about the fact that actually extraterrestrials, UFOs are real. Where it goes, we'll see. But certainly those two possibilities are sitting there waiting to be played.
I'm looking forward to the fake alien invasion.
Well, I put out a scenario. I mean, this is worth bearing in mind. What they could do is, why does it have to be so much I mean, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. There's plenty of evidence to that. But also they could do it as the alien invasion doesn't have to be a being, it could be a virus. The alien invasion could be
invading the bodies of...
Or invading the smart grid. Right. So if you're going to have AI as the god that saves you, the algorithms, if your smart system is invaded by an alien virus, who deals in viruses? Bill Gates, on technology. Could it be that they set AI up to be the saviour god because it's saving the smart grid system? You know, who knows? But I mean, it's a great film if anybody wants to make the film out.
Well, that's my thing. Is
think about these things, because that's why you're given this imagination, because we're able to go, that is a possible scenario. Yeah. Look, if you look at the pandemic stuff, obviously I agree with what Dave said and what you said, and that there wasn't anything there. But it didn't really matter, it was the power of suggestion. Or if you can have the power of suggestion that this alien virus has now taken down the smart grid, we need to all worship the god of the AI that we've populated. I mean, who knows? But it's worth thinking about in different angles.
Whether it's real or whether it's perceived to be real, you're right, it don't matter, because the outcome's still the same. Your perception of real or believe it's real will still respond in the same way. And I think it's worth just emphasizing that we see technology in the public arena and we see what we think is the cutting edge because it's played out in the public arena. But in the underground bases and the secret projects, holographic technology is light years ahead. AI technology is light years ahead than what we see in the public arena currently, and it's played out in a sequence with cover stories. Oh yeah, this has just been discovered. Oh really? You've got it out the base, have you? And so the level of technological possibility is vastly greater outside the public arena than even inside, and it's kind of advanced now inside.
Yeah. Well, the War of the Worlds was, I mean, that was a radio broadcast, and it had people obsessed to the point where I think one guy in New Jersey even took his own life because he was terrified of what was coming.
The funny thing you should say about the War of the Worlds then, so what was it that defeated the aliens in the War of the Worlds?
It's a virus, wasn't it?
It's a virus.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
See, my thing that I think is funny, one, I think if there's an alien invasion, the soundtrack will be great. I think there'll be some pretty cool tunes banging, do you know what I mean?
We're going down.
We're going down with some rock guitar. But the other element is that, as Dad's said, you know, in terms of all these years of these weirdo conspiracy theories talking about aliens and all the normies going, it's a weather balloon, you maniac, that when this alien invasion comes, all the normies are going to be going, oh my God, there's an alien invasion. And the conspiracy theorists are going to be, no, it ain't.
Exactly.
It's amazing. I'm waiting for that because it's going to make me laugh.
We're going to be going, no, it's not. They're going, yeah, they are aliens. And we'll be going, no, they're not. They're coming from out. I just saw them coming out of a tunnel in New Mexico.
Tunnel in Brooklyn.
We obviously don't even need an alien invasion because we are becoming human antenna. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I spoke about this before, but I've been filming that experiment with the Masterpiece Group. And these vaccinated people that were involved, they all had Bluetooth signals inside of them. And so you've said it yourself, with 6G coming up, we become the human antenna. Well, we're the perfect host for any alien species that just snatches our bodies.
So what's that sound like? Mind control to me? Manchurian candidates all over the place.
I don't even think they need to control the mind anymore, in a sense. I think there's just a full-blown takeover of the whole consciousness. Consciousness out, another one in.
Do you think you could override it, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, if you've got Bluetooth, then, so they would control that by beaming to the Bluetooth.
You're literally an antenna. You're literally an antenna. Yeah. You're literally an antenna. So like you normally have a metal one, your body is one.
Yeah, but maybe I'm half joking. Maybe that's what Project Blue Beam. Maybe that's what it means. Maybe they're telling you in that's exactly what that is.
Right. Yes. Interesting.
Temple Mount.
Who knows, mate? Okay, so this one's aimed at you, Richard. It's literally aimed at you because they've said my question is for Richard, but obviously everyone's going to have an input on it. On your last show, you spoke about the number 7 and the rainbow.
Yep.
Why do you think there is such a strong association that Ireland has leprechauns with their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? What does the leprechaun symbolise? Do other cultures, there's a lot of questions here, do other cultures, this is from Elaine, by the way, thank you very much, Elaine, so I didn't name you. Do other cultures have these same themes with regard to mythical characters, the number 7 and the rainbow combined?
I used to have a girl called Elaine. Maybe she thought I was a leprechaun.
maybe that's why she's asking you.
Yeah, with the pot of gold and the rainbow, I think we said this in the first part, didn't we? Is all to do with over the rainbow, over the visible light spectrum into the new world. The number 7 is associated with that because those of the Messianic Jewish faith go the 7th day of the week is the Sabbath, which is Saturday, so they go Saturday to Sunday. So that Saturn day is their last day. So the golden age is Saturn. So that all correlates into the new beginnings. The visible light spectrum. I believe that they knocked us down to only be able to perceive within the visible light spectrum. So they turned off the pineal gland, or and we talked about, I think in the last roundtable we discussed all that, with that stuff. So, but when it comes to the leprechaun stuff, though, I think it's to do with beings from other realms. It's these Archon beings. It's these other beings.
Could be the small greys, couldn't it?
Small greys,
the little people.
Exactly. It could be anything like that. It's other than, and then they kind of go to the pot of gold. They're leading you to there. It's a bit Pied Piperish, isn't it? So they're leading you over the rainbow to the pot of gold, over the rainbows into the new world. It's Olam Haba, this Messianic sect called it, New World Order, same thing. It's after the 7th day, so it's 6 days of creation. God created the earth, the matrix, whatever we want to call it. And then on the 7th day, he had a day off because he was knackered.
You would do, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would do, wouldn't you? You thought, do you know what? You didn't make humans you didn't have to make humans to the 6th day. You thought, I'll just leave them.
That's what I knew there was something I needed to do.
He made birds before, which I found really funny. I don't mean like in terms of like, I love birds. I mean actually like birds, as in flappy birds. Made them the day before, then it was humans on the 6th day, and then he had a rest on the 7th day, and then the new world starts on the 8th day, obviously. That's why you had the menorah has got, some of them have 8 candles, not all of them, some of them, but actually with Charlie Kirk's assassination, if you look from the top down, and we mentioned this before, that is a menorah with 8 candles, and he was right in the middle of the 8th candle there, which is,
there's a lot of symbolic stuff to do.
So I think that they represent beings from beyond the rainbow, beyond the visible light.
So leprechauns are grey aliens from Ireland.
Grey aliens from Ireland. Yeah,
I like it.
Well, the thing about the aliens, I've done a lot of research about this, and then a book I'm just about finished, and it's pretty clear to me that in the ancient world, humans had a wider acuity of visual potential, and therefore could see some of these aliens, at least some of them, and they lived among them, as they said. And then, I mean, if you, I came across this text from Central America. It was a Mayan text, and it was talking about how the gods, not God, the gods, created humanity, I say genetically engineered humanity as we know it, and how they were basically trial and erroring the best type. But they eventually created, so these texts say, a form of human that they said, ooh, They could be like us. We've given them too much. They can see too much. And what they did then, and they describe it in their own way, but what they're describing is the visual frequency that we can see was squeezed. And suddenly they're here, living among us, and suddenly, no, they're gone, because we can't see them anymore, but they're occupying the same space, just on a different frequency that we can't access. And I do think that a lot of these tales and myths actually come from that.
I agree.
I made a... No, I made a film about the little people in 2012 called Voices from the Forest. It's on Gaia at the moment. I'm not promoting Gaia, of course, because we want it on Ickonic as well.
You can promote Gaia, that's fine. There's plenty of room for all of us.
Absolutely, no.
Especially outside the visible light spectrum.
Yes,
100%.
Exactly. But from what I understood from, while making that film, is that the little people used to be, exactly like you said, living among us. And either they became interdimensional or, as you both said, our visual spectrum became limited, because those creatures can still show themselves in the physical but also move out of the physical. And we did capture them on camera as well, there's a shot in the film where they're looking at me from behind a tree, and we had it analyzed, and they said it was an anomaly.
I did the Gaz before, and no one else has ever seen, come and said they've seen this. But when the Queen died, they did the parade with all of the pompous carriages. And I swear, I was watching live, in one of those carriages was like a goblin thing that kept looking around like this. I guarantee it, and I can't find the footage. Oh yeah, of course. No, honestly, it was just and I was like, I was on my own watching it. No, whether I was the only one who could see it, it could have been a possibility. But I remember it.
Do you remember, Rich, when the Queen died, there was that massive rainbow?
2 rainbows.
Over Windsor Castle.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
2 rainbows. That was the God's promise, and I've looked into that. So that's the doubling down on the Noahide laws of the visible light spectrum. We are promising never to flood. So with the flood, I think a lot of things could be possible. I think the flood happened as a physical thing.
Oh, definitely.
But I also think it was the flood of the pineal gland, not penile gland, that's the other one.
Take a tablet for that.
Yeah.
But they're talking about prime Earth, that and you always say prime Earth is still here, it's just that we cannot perceive it anymore. I can totally understand we were living among them as well as unicorns, because where else would dragon imagery and unicorn imagery come from?
That's the symbol of Scotland, is a unicorn. Don't tell my kids that unicorns are real, mate, because jeez.
They're still around, though. I really do. I really think that they still kept their ability to be interdimensional, and we are the ones who were kept off, and the whole prime Earth is still there.
So much symbolism and symbolic characters and symbolic animals and stuff. They have at least a grain of truth about them.
And they know these people. That's why they sing over the rainbow. That's why they use the rainbow for COVID. That's why they use it for the LGBT thing, and that's why the Noahide laws of the rainbow. They know what you're saying and what we're all saying is true. We are trapped within the visible light spectrum. Whether we chose to come here or not is it depends. But we once weren't. And I think that's the knocking down, as you said, the fall of man, and all of this stuff is symbolic to shutting us down to see things that we can't. And these black nobility bloodlines I mentioned earlier used to use satanic rituals, or still do now, to tap into communicating with them. Now they use technology, but they're trying to bring the thing into our world.
Yeah, I think also that these particular hybrid bloodlines, which will be in part the black nobility and these other inner circle cultists, I do think that part of that hybrid program, that hybrid software, is they can see further into the spectrum than we can.
Completely agree.
I'll always remember being with Ted Heath. I mentioned this before, in a Sky studio, Sky News studio, before I was into any of this. I was there to speak about the Green Party at the time. And I remember him looking at me, and this is when his eyes went black and everything. But when he was scanning me with his eyes, never said a word, he had this inquisitive look on his face. Like, what's this kind of feel, you know? And I just got the feeling, because I looked in his eyes, and his eyes went black, and it was like looking through him into another dimension. It was an extraordinary thing. But they can see more than we can see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree.
And the little people, there's of course folklore all over the world, you know. In Africa they call them the Contomble. In New Zealand, the Maori have lots of stories about them. They're called the Patupayarehi. Apparently the little people in New Zealand supposedly came from Wales, where they were living among humans. Then when the energy started shifting in a negative direction, they started to be used as slaves, and then they were put on boats traveling to, I believe, China, and ended up in New Zealand as well. And the Maori, they say they are the first, the natives of New Zealand. However, I've held a skull in my hands, an adult, a very small skull with adult teeth in it. And apparently they used to grind, they basically killed them and grind their skulls in mills in New Zealand. So that there's a whole story of them living there before the Maori arrived.
Well, you don't hear about that from the New Zealand Tourist Board, do you?
Well, no, you're not really supposed to be talking about it because it's considered very offensive. But the truth is the truth, and that's all.
But you take offence, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Offence is taken, not given. Correct. Right, Chrissy, this one's aimed at you, mate. This is from Christopher Briscoe. How do you distinguish real spiritual knowledge from fake spiritual knowledge, or rather so-called knowledge that will only serve to keep one coming back to this world after death and acting as a continual source of food for, do you want to read that one?
Malevolent
entities.
Well, the way I do it, and I'm not saying I do it the right way, but I've got a new thing going at the moment, which is I know nothing. So whatever information comes to me, I'll play with it, I'll toy with it, I'll see how I feel about it. But my idea is that at the end of the day, you basically scrap everything. Everything that you've got, be prepared to throw it away. Because it's very easy for a concept to become a belief. And that's what the issue is of humanity. We're completely stuck in a world of illusions. So in a way, how do you know what's real or not? Well, it's a rabbit hole. It's very, very difficult. So what I now do is just go with the premise of I know nothing. And if something keeps coming back from that space of nothing, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps resonating on a level that makes you feel like you're not drawn down into this world, but a feeling of it elevates you, and it elevates your consciousness, then that to me would be something that I would use as that could be based on truth that goes beyond all this illusory stuff. Because in a way, even moments where I think I've got it, that in the end is always challenged again, to the point where I have to let it all go, let the whole thing go. Yeah, that's in short an answer as I can give.
As soon as you said I know nothing, I was thinking if you crop that, Jay, that's the promo. You can just put that out for it. But no, you're right. There's an old Pennywise song, Show Me Age Here, which was all I know is that I don't know nothing, and it's very true, I think.
Yeah, because Socrates said that knowledge is to know you know nothing, and wisdom is knowing how little we know. But I would say that from my perspective, and I have been looking at this for a very long time, we live in a simulated reality. It's multi-leveled. The astral dimensions, as they call them, is the afterlife part of the simulation, and this wheel of samsara is bringing us in and out, so that we keep trapped in the matrix, in the simulation, whatever. And so in terms of spiritual knowledge, anything that is related to the simulation, in the realms that I'm describing, is to be seriously questioned, because this simulation and the consciousness behind it doesn't want us out of here. It wants us trapped in here permanently. Part of this is the fusion of humans and AI, for instance. And so anything that attaches you or is connected in terms of knowledge to this simulated reality, I think needs to be looked at with extreme caution. And anything that talks about the fact that we are spirit, not even soul, that's an astral phenomenon in my view, and certainly not human, but that that focuses on the fact that we are spirit and that we are spirit trapped in the illusion of this simulation. That is the real knowledge. That is the real gnosis for me. Because if you're getting your information only from within the matrix, I mean, and I don't mean just human information. I mean, if you're getting information through esoteric means from the astral, again, who's on the other end of the line? I think it needs to be questioned enormously. I'm not saying that there's nothing to learn and understand. There is, but it has to be treated with caution, I think, because the simple thing is that which controls the matrix in its multiple levels wants to keep us in the matrix. So it's going to feed us information that keeps us attached to the matrix. Yeah. It's not going to feed us information that is going to relate to our true nature, which is outside the matrix.
Yeah, and also, you know, the whole idea of knowing nothing, and you write about it in your books, the need for certainty. There is a very big importance in becoming comfortable with not knowing, and with just knowing, yeah, I'm here right now, I'm in this experience right now. There's loads of realities happening around me. Can I be okay, and can I feel centered and living in myself okay, comfortably, without knowing?
That's a really good word. Centered is a really important word, I think, what you said there, is because, like, the whole thing about Cain going into the land of, I think it was Nod, when there was no sun, so there's no fixed point. He didn't know where he was. That's why it was hell, because he couldn't go up, down, left, right, and no fixed point of view. Mm-hmm. You still have to have that one knowing that you just said about that center. I am.
Yeah, or you're embodied.
Everything
you're embodied
else is,
in your center.
Exactly, I am. And I think that I've done a whole film about the cult's they're terrified of death, because I don't think they know who they are. And I think that people around our table here and people that watch this, we know one thing, we know I am. Yeah. And I think that goes on and on and on.
That's it. And that's everything else.
Yeah. I love uncertainty.
But that's the game, that's the ride.
Yeah, imagine if you went to a football match, but you knew the score before every time. There'd be no excitement. There'd be, I know I'm using football analogy, but there wouldn't. Every time the ball went in the box, you wouldn't be like, go on. Well, you don't need to, because I know it either goes in or it doesn't.
The thrill is that you feel like you've got something to lose.
Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, I've written at length about this uncertainty. And interestingly, another thing that is obvious to me, and has been for a long time, is that this world is a manifestation of the left side of the brain. Mm-hmm. So the left side of the brain, although, you know, the brain's holographic, so, you know, all the different parts of the brain are spread over the brain, throughout the brain, because it's holographic, but the two hemispheres of the brain still have very specific roles. And interestingly, you know, the two sides of the brain are connected by what's called the corpus callosum, like a bridge, and they're supposed to talk to each other. You're supposed to be whole-brained, right? Yeah. But what the system does, it wants to put you in the left side of the brain. So the left side of the brain, if you look at the subjects in education, where they're bringing kids up through the education system, and they're filling the left side of the brain. And there's a very interesting man. I mean, we should try to get him onto Ickonic, really, because he's a very interesting man. He's called Ian McGilchrist. He's I think he's a psychiatrist. And he's written a very interesting book about this. And he's studied the different functions of the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. And one of the things he identifies is that the left side of the brain is desperate for certainty, right? So if you look at mainstream orthodox science, it's desperate for certainty. So you get someone like Professor Richard Dawkins. He needs the certainty. I've debated with him at Oxford University, actually. What's that forum at the Oxford University?
The Oxford Union.
Oxford Union, yeah. He is desperate for the certainty that there is nothing outside of human life, right? So there's no afterlife, there's nothing. We're just a biological entity. And therefore, he resists any evidence that challenges that, and it's enormous, the evidence, because it's threatening his certainty, which is his sense of security. Now, you look at religions, and these people that look at their holy books, be it the Bible or the Quran or whatever, and that's the story. And there's nothing outside of it. This is the word of God. That is a certainty. That if they believe in Jesus, then they'll go to heaven. That's their certainty. And certainty is here, left side of the brain. And if you challenge that certainty with other information, they go apeshit, just like an orthodox scientist does, because that's a religion as well, orthodox science. The holy books are the holy books of scientific orthodoxy. And so this need for certainty and not being comfortable with uncertainty is very, very important to understand. And interestingly, it's a reflection of that which controls human society, because this archontic force, as I call it, that is behind all this, it is desperate for certainty. And one way you can see that is that it needs to control both sides. Because if it controls both sides, it knows the outcome. It's certain of the outcome. And one of the key reasons they want to fuse humans with artificial intelligence is they want to take away any state of flux or other possibility, because they control the outcome, because they control what humans think in very extreme ways. And so basically this need for certainty and this fear of uncertainty is a reflection of the very consciousness that is running the matrix, and not an accident.
The sad thing is that they can never have that. They can never have that. It's beyond. I can't be certain what you're thinking right now. I have a good guess.
You can have a good guess.
I can have a good guess, yeah, and I'm appalled. But, but you know, I can never be 100% certain. And you can't be certain. We can't be certain, and that's all right.
But that's the beautiful thing. You're right about humans.
That we're not certain. We don't know what the hell. We don't. We have theories. We have. I know my intentions. You know yours, but you don't really know mine, and I don't really know yours. You have that's the point. There is a danger to life. There is that is living.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's movement. Life is. You said that order and chaos.
Someone's going to do a scorpion kick.
They don't.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did.
When the ball's just throwing in, and you expect the goalkeeper to just do that, the Colombian goalie, but he just did a back scorpion kick and kicked out. There's not another human on earth that expected that to happen.
No, they didn't. No.
You know that guy who did that scorpion kick? Yeah, for Colombia goalkeeper. I was traveling to South America some years ago now, and we stopped at Caracas, Venezuela, right? And onto the plane came the Colombian football team.
He weren't doing that, was he? How'd he get on?
No, but he sat behind me with his feet on my seat, banging the whole flight to Colombia. Unbelievable.
I bet you didn't expect that either.
I didn't expect that. No, that was definitely uncertainty. But of course, just to finish the point, if you confuse humans with artificial intelligence, so artificial intelligence becomes the human mind, you can be certain of what they think because you're telling them what to think. That's the whole point of it.
But can you be certain that they're going to buy it? Can you be certain they're really buying it? Can you be certain that they're really playing? Are they just playing? Like, am I playing a role that I'm playing? That I'm part of artificial intelligence?
Is René Icke in there?
Do you know
somewhere?
what I mean? There's everything is questionable. So all I need to do is throw a suggestive thing in and going, hang on a minute, maybe he isn't.
The thing is, consciousness. If you can access consciousness beyond the matrix, which we all can if we only realized it, then you're in the land of uncertainty, because you're in the land of all possibility.
Exactly.
So you can override it once you do that. But if your range of consciousness stays within the simulation is running you.
But sooner as you become aware that it's a simulation, it's no longer running you.
And also people try to figure it out all the time, the rabbit hole of figuring everything out. I think that is part of getting trapped. The simplicity of knowing I am having an temporary experience. That is almost, the simplicity, it's so simple that it's laughable almost. But that alone is already leading you out of the mess. As soon as you think, I need to figure this mathematical formula out, because if I calculate this, it means that when I die, I know how to not go to the moon, but go beyond the moon, blah, blah, blah. All of that. That is a real...
Well, the thing I've learned over the years is that the truth is simple. And what hides us and obscures that truth is the apparent complexity of human life. So it is very, very simple. But I think, someone like me, you're trying to figure it out because you're trying to communicate with people who are overwhelmingly trapped in the illusion of it.
Yeah.
So, I can look and observe the world knowing that I'm spirit consciousness, part of the great forever. But at the same time, you can still figure things out and pass on what you've accrued for people that are not aware of the true nature of who they are. They've bought into the phantom self nature of who we are. So I think you can do both. The problem, I think, is that if you become so detached, you're not engaging. I think that's a form of escapism. But if you become so focused upon just the realm of human, you're in the trap. And I think you need to move between the two. You need to be in this world, but not of it. Yeah. And that for me is, the ideal. And in fact, what I'm describing is becoming whole-brained.
Yeah.
Because the right side of the brain has a different function. It can see the panorama of things. It can see how things connect. And this only sees the parts. This sees the twigs, not the forest. This sees the forest. So the two that I've just described, the two sides of the brain reflect what I'm just talking about.
It's like I always say, the truth is simple, and so is Ben Shapiro.
Oh, yes. Perfect time to come in, actually, because what you're describing there, not Ben Shapiro, leads on to the next question. So this is from Daniel. The Art of the Researcher series was very insightful, Dad, so well done for that. In the current times of censorship and shadow banning, can you please explain how you identify trustworthy sources to do your research? Not Ben Shapiro would be answer number one.
Yeah.
Well, what I've always done is, first of all, you follow your intuition, which is served me very well over the years when you look at it. But I'm looking. You question everything, and so you can have a source. I'll tell you a quick story. Kathy O'Brien's partner once said to me, "You've quoted a disinformer in your book, but you've only quoted the bit that's true. How do you do that? And the reason I say that is because you can look at a quote source, and they can say things that are true, and they can say things that are not true. And what you've got to do is choose between the two, and that's intuition. It's something that says this. I mean, people who've kind of experienced this will know what I'm saying. Your whole body says yes, or your whole body says no. When I say your body, actually, it's your consciousness saying no, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, yes. And that's what I've done over the years. And also, you know, with the experience of the years and the decades, you accrue a streetwiseness, if you're in any way sensible, where you can pick out the more and more accurately those that are telling you nonsense and those that are telling you things that are true. And I interact with very few people, actually. The older I've got, the less I've interacted with people like, you know, whistleblowers and stuff. Because you reach a point where you can see where the world's being taken. You can see how it's being taken there. And you can see the force that's taking us there. And from that knowledge, you can then start seeing the world from that perspective, without talking even to whistleblowers anymore. Because they don't need to tell you what's going on, because with that knowledge, you can see what's going on. It's like when Charlie Kirk was killed, I looked at the potential for what I knew this force wants, which is more and more censorship and more conflict between left and right. So you can see immediately that Kirk's murder serves the agenda. The reason I could see that COVID was a scam so early is because I could see the potential for what that COVID scam was going to give the agenda, which I, by that time, understood what it was. So you know, they say the more you know, the more there is to know, and the more you know, there is to know, and that's true to an extent. But on another aspect of this, the more you know in terms of the direction, the force behind it, and why, the simpler it gets.
I think as well, when I hear someone say something or I watch someone say something or whatever, my first question is, okay, why do you want me to believe that's true? And then look if there's a conflict of interest on their behalf, in terms of themselves or who they represent, whether that be an agency or a country or whatever. But the other thing, which has been quite telling, is what was your stance during COVID? Simple as that. So, for instance, you look at these people that Dad's mentioned coming into the alternative media and taking over, and you look at their stance on COVID, and it was quite embarrassing, really. And then just in the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's pulled out now, but you had Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, standing for president of Ireland, saying, you know, getting behind the flag of freedom and all this kind of stuff, and he's saying all the right things, and I'm seeing everyone jump on it, and I'm thinking, I swear he was a dick during COVID. So there you go. And then obviously there's receipts. He
was unbelievable. He wanted the army to impose lockdown.
Yeah, and all this sort of stuff. And so, you know, I made a react video and put all that stuff out there. And in the end, he pulled out. Obviously not as a result of my video. I'm not that, I'm not that self-indulged. But, you know, I think, you know, people started to switch on to him.
Yeah, but it was interesting, Gaz, you know, we were talking in the Round Table show, the latest one, that they were trying to bring MAGA to Britain, right? Obviously, what's happening. But if he'd have gone on and won, he'd have brought MAGA to Ireland.
Yeah.
So you can see where the thing is meant to go.
It's all over Europe. It's all over Europe.
Yep.
Right, Rich, this is aimed at you, mate. This is from Bernie. Thank you very much, Bernie, for your question. Would you please comment on the collective understanding of the subjects of flat Earth, space, NASA, etc.? This is a major one. I get asked this all the time. No matter where I go in the world, people are talking about this. Much is gaining a lot of interest, and I don't seem to see these subjects on Ickonic unless I'm mistaken. What's your take on it?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's something we haven't really covered. My take on the flat Earth theory is that it's a Freemasonic way of getting people to believe into how to flip things. So if something's flat, you can flip it. So the Kabbalah tree of life, the whole point is you're supposed to work your way up this tree, to the top, to the kether, to the crown. But the roots are underneath. And the scam is they think they're working their way up, but actually they're going to flip it. So I see the flat Earth thing is the psychological side of being able to have two things separate. So once you've got the two things separate, so the inner Earth and the outer Earth, you're able to flip them round. So I see it like that. I don't think there's personally much truth to the flat Earth theory, but I do think it works in a psychological way of being able to flip the world upside down. It harks back to the uprooting of the Kabbalah tree of life and turning it upside down. That's as much as I haven't done a hell of a lot of research.
No,
on
I've interviewed
but that's about
quite a few people.
My take on it at the moment.
I've interviewed people about it, and I do find it fascinating on the level of, you know, we know the world's a globe and it's round because NASA says. Well, I don't believe anything NASA says. So you know, that in itself is a conversation. What's your take on it, Chris?
Well, I saw a very interesting video recently where somebody had basically shot a mini rocket up and with a camera on it, and you can hear it going up, whooshing up into the sky. And then at some point it seems to hit like something like plasma-like, and it's almost like it hits plasma basically. Like it stops, and like a dome. And I personally, I'm not an expert at all on this, so whatever I say is purely what I resonate with. But I have seen videos where you shine like a light on top of the water surface, and you film from the water up, and it looks the same as what a star looks like to us when we look at the sky. So I can totally imagine the idea of there being a dome type of structure. So whether it's flat or round, there still would be a dome type of structure of plasma, and that would make sense to me, that there is a firmament idea.
Yeah, I'm open to it.
That's the thing. Firmament, with the biblical firmament. Yeah. What does that mean? It means dome.
It means dome, yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
And so you can take that dome to be the matrix, the simulation, if you like. But talking a few minutes ago about intuition, and I do things on intuition. I'm very happy to investigate the flat Earth idea, but my intuition says no, leave it. No need, leave it. So I have, and I've never really been drawn to it. I mean, I've heard bits and I've seen videos and stuff, but I've never really been drawn to it, and that's why I've not really talked about it.
I find it fascinating in the sense that I've watched lots of presentations, and I guess it's with anything. I've watched people present stuff, and I'm looking at them thinking this is nonsense. But then there's other people that you'll watch, and you're like, well, the dude's got a point. You know, there's and it is one of those things, because when I talk to people about it, they say, why are you not talking about this so much? Why are you not talking about this? And they're coming at it from a point of view of like, this is a massive deal, because because a lot of these people still believe in the simulation. Even if it is a simulation, this is still a massive thing, because this is all governments in cahoots lying to the whole public of the planet about something. So it is a big deal in that sense. But then I'm also of the belief that I will comment on stuff and I will interview people from every single realm. If someone wanted to come on my show and they are an absolute like globe fanatic, come on down. And if you're a flat earther, come on down. Or if you're about the sphere, there's loads of different things, different shapes. But at the same time, just because someone doesn't focus on something doesn't mean you can't. Because you get that, like, I get it all the time. And there's there's a Ricky Gervais joke about it, where he's talking about something, saying, why aren't you talking about the kids in Syria? It's like, well, you can. You're allowed to do that. I'm talking about something else.
Yeah.
And so if there's people out there that are researching the flat Earth phenomenon, that's amazing. Bring it on.
Yeah, and everything's possible, isn't
Yeah,
it?
totally,
If we're in a world of illusions, I found out the truth can be seen in so many different ways, and you even have a video where you see a square, and when you walk around, it's actually a circle from the other side. And that's, for me, the same as this. There's so many possibilities in this hall of mirrors that we're living in.
But I don't think some flat Earth people do themselves a lot of good by being so vehement against those that either don't buy it or don't really go there. You're called a shill if you're just a government shill, and if you don't believe in the flat Earth. But the other thing is, of course, that they say, okay, it's a massive conspiracy, but even if the Earth was flat, the vast majority of people in government would not be trying to hoodwink you, because they'd think it was round as well, right? It's a very small number of people that hold the real knowledge, whatever that knowledge is in terms of the nature of reality and how we experience it. They are very, very few in number through compartmentalization. So it doesn't have to be a massive conspiracy. It has to be a small number of people have the knowledge, and the rest of them believe what they're told to believe.
So I was always the point was like, okay, what difference would it make to me? Like, I don't understand what the difference would be.
Because it's a lie anyway, so...
But then you could say then, well, why does the Kennedy assassination matter?
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying what, I'm actually genuinely asking a question, what you'd step outside the dome part, you'd fall off the world, or there's a part within the world that's under a dome and there's more land out there. Is that what they're saying?
And there's the ice walls of Antarctica. There's all this kind of stuff. And I think the point that a lot of them make, and a lot of them are quite vicious, and I've been on the receiving end of them. They're a bit like vegans in that sense. And that's, again, not all vegans. Vegans are wonderful, but is their attitude is, well, if we could make the world realise, like as in the populations of the world realise that this is a massive lie, that would open up the door to them going, well, hang on, if they've lied to us about this, what about everything else? Which is a legitimate question. But with the flat Earth stuff, that's why I kind of was almost pushed away from it at the beginning, because of how vitriolic they were with it. And it's only in the last couple of years, really, having spent some time in Mexico, had him on the show a couple of times with Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave, because he's proper chilled. Like, he's not like that.
Was that his Christian name? If he was born with that name, then he ain't no chance.
Well, he had no chance, did he, being born Flat Earth Dave, exactly. Yeah. But but he gets called a shill because he's not that vitriolic with it. He's very much like, well, people don't want to believe it, they don't have to believe it. And that's like, no. So,
what I do really resonate with is inner Earth. I've had a bit of an obsession about that.
The Lord of the Rings vibe. Type.
Yeah, and I can imagine, like, if we live in cycles and there's destruction happening, I can imagine that knowledge and certain human types of beings have gone into the earth, and I do really feel that whenever there's been a destruction, they are the ones coming up to
repopulate.
Chitauri stuff as well.
Well, maybe that's what Ian Dowie was about, the footballer, because I always thought he looked like an orc, and now I'm thinking maybe that's it. Maybe he came out from the left.
Yeah, but
and taught everyone football.
There are so many stories going back to the ancient world about the inner Earth. Again, they're not all going to be total nonsense.
Well, one of them is the Adventures of Baron Trump.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's Nephilim, and we know that.
Oh,
there's no way he's that big if he's not Nephilim.
No, exactly. Have you seen the front cover of the Baron Trump, actual old front cover? There's only one picture that the designer actually made, and that kid looks like Baron Trump, the Trump's son.
Maybe
Baron
he's
Trump.
the new Messiah.
Well,
maybe
it was Donald
Trump's
uncle, that I think it was John G. Trump, that stole Tesla's papers from when he died in his destitute. So there is something to this.
Trump's a real outsider, isn't he? He's a real outsider.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. And I'll aim this at you, Chrissy, but we'll obviously open it up to everyone, and you've touched on it there with Tartaria. What are your thoughts on Tartaria and the supposed mud floods?
Yeah, I totally go with it. At the same time, I also want to research things. So we went to Lincoln last weekend, and we went to the cathedral, and wow, the intricacy of everything and the way it's built. And the first thing that comes up is like, no way have people built that without power tools. And so at that moment, I'm adamant, oh, there's something else behind this. Then I come home and I start watching a documentary about how supposedly they made these cathedrals. And I have to say, the way it was explained was like, I can imagine that human beings have done it. They show exactly how the structures are built up and what molds they use and what frameworks they use. And it does make sense that humans could do it without power tools. It does, actually. However, that doesn't mean I don't believe in the whole Tartaria thing. I do. And what I find always very strange is with these buildings is the height of the doors. These massive, massive doors. And I've been toying with this idea that the gods that we speak about, they were actually walking among us. I think it's only very recent that religion was based on faith. I think before then it was based on worship of actual physical, very large creatures. And for instance, and that these buildings were everywhere before. And that these ones, like for instance, Lincoln Cathedral was built, what was it, in the 1300s? That was human built, but based on designs of what society was like before. I truly feel that we go in about 1,000-year cycles here on Earth. 1,000 years. I think that the powers behind the scenes know that we suss things out in about a 1,000-year period, and to the point where it becomes too hard to manage us, and then they need to reset the whole thing again, and they leave remnants.
It's interesting. Because we spoke on the last round table about this kind of stuff and Atlantis, and so I was talking about, going underground into these caves and lead mines and stuff, like 200 meters underground, and some of the structures in there, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, they are like cathedrals. It's extraordinary. And it's literally just come into my head then, the fact that, and we saw this in the slate mines of Wales when we were filming The Walk, is they would leave a shoe. These miners would leave one shoe apparently underground when they finished their final shift and left. Now, if that's true, you would expect to see shoes everywhere, because over the period of these mines being open, hundreds of years, you've got hundreds of, if not thousands of people leaving shoes. There should be a big pile of them, but there isn't. You just find the odd one. And even now, like, I'll go underground and I'll find these shoes, and they're like this big. Now, we're told that it's because in those days, they were malnourished and impoverished and stuff. Okay, so they're malnourished and impoverished, so their feet are so small, but they've built a freaking cathedral underground with rocks that are like, my arms aren't big enough to stretch the size of these things. Yeah. I'm wondering now if these are the little people.
Yeah, well, they were used as slaves apparently.
Underground.
So, yeah.
It sounds far out, but mate.
No, it doesn't sound far out to me. I think it was way more versatile with types of beings on the earth, way more.
Well, I think, if you think that, this is my view anyway, that the foundation of the simulation is basically a Wi-Fi field. It's on our level an electromagnetic field of information, and of course electromagnetism carries information. That's how this world works. The brain is electrical and electromagnetic in the way it processes information, and so we are living in a world in which the world appears to be outside of us when it's actually in here. We're decoding it, just like a computer decodes the Wi-Fi from a radiation field into a very different form on the screen. So we are decoding this world from an information field. And the information field is interactive, so it affects us, but we are posting on the internet, if you like, with our perceptions, and we can change that. We can change that field. So when you think that level of illusion that we are living, which is that we're apparently living in a solid external world, which is actually in here, a holographic, illusory physical world that we think is outside of us, then all bets are off, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, creating cathedrals and these fantastic buildings. The cathedrals, by the way, you know, in the great European cathedrals, you're into the Knights Templar, secret society that was kind of designing all that stuff. Anything becomes possible, you know, to the point where, you know, you could break it down to, okay, you want a cathedral, okay, click enter. You know, I mean, you imagine you have this astral dimension that interpenetrates this one. And it's an astral dimension that one level of it, lower levels of it, they are a form of physicality. They're plasma, which is known as they call it the fourth state of matter.
Yeah.
Well, the fourth state of matter, well, everything you can see between the forms in this room is plasma. That's why we can't see it. You can't see it. You can see the results of it, but you can't see it. And so imagine you create a blueprint in the astral of some fantastic creation. And then you just lower its frequency. You bring it in, that blueprint, you bring it in to this reality, and anyone that sees it is going to decode it, and there's going to be what you perceive as a physical cathedral. There's going to be a physical pyramid in Giza, and so on, and these other amazing constructions that were no way related to the primitive nature of, apparently primitive nature, what's history, of the world as it was at the time. So, you know, I'm not saying, okay, that's the explanation. I'm saying once you are in a situation where we're decoding a illusory physical reality from information, and I'm seeing more and more scientists who are saying, well, it does look like it's a simulation and it does seem to be based on information. I'm thinking, yeah, this idiot was saying that at the turn of the millennium. And so I'm not saying that that's an explanation for it. I'm saying that's a possibility, because anything becomes possible once it's simply decoded information into an apparent physical world.
But what you've just explained there is the same as having an imagination to imagine the cathedral to 6 years later it being built. It's just the speed.
The speed
has changed.
And that's interesting, Rich, because when you talk to these and listen to the accounts of these near-death experiences who enter the astral, they talk about, you think it and it manifests. It's the speed.
It's the speed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the speed.
But in this dense physicality, there appears to be a sequence from, like you say, thinking about it to actually achieving it. There's no sequence in the astral. It's what you think is what you create.
Could do with some of that.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Mate, those Barrett homes and Wimpy homes would just go up like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That was a question by Jessica, by the way. I'm not sure if I named you then, Jessica. I apologise if I didn't.
That was my mother's middle name.
Was it really?
Yeah. Barbara Jessica Icke, she was.
Well, thank you so much for all your questions and for watching and for subscribing and supporting everything we do. Also, obviously, you're sending in questions for my dad's new series, Ask David.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful because there are loads of different questions that take you off into different areas.
Oh, yeah.
And in the next few weeks, probably starting in October, my weekly guest that I have on the Bring the Fire, which goes out on a Sunday, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of your questions for them as well, and we're going to keep them. They don't know it yet, but we're going to keep the guest under duress. We'll tie them up, put them in the corner, and film them answering your questions as well. So obviously there's loads of different guests from loads of different realms. So it's more content for you, and also hopefully it helps you feel more involved in what we're doing here. And we'll see you on Everything Answered, and of course the Roundtable in October. Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thank you, guys. That was great.
Awesome.